Most tech companies fight for market share, but Apple Inc. plays a completely different game: profit dominance. While competitors chase volume, Apple controls pricing, ecosystem, and customer behavior. I've analyzed this using EMBA-level strategy frameworks, not theory, but execution logic. In this video, you'll learn the 5 systems Apple uses to stay consistently profitable, and more importantly, how you can apply the same logic to your own business. Hello everyone. Today we are not talking about technology. We are talking about profit. This presentation is about how Apple Inc. stays profitable while most competitors struggle. If you look at the tech industry, you will notice something strange. Many companies sell more units, but make less money. Apple is different. It consistently generates high margins, strong cash flow, and dominant profitability. In this presentation, I will break down the key systems behind this. Not theories, but strategic execution logic. By the end, you will understand why Apple is not just a tech company. It is a profit machine. Let's start with the industry reality. Most tech hardware companies compete on price. This creates a race to the bottom. Companies try to win market share by lowering prices, but this destroys margins. For example, Samsung shipped more units than Apple, but it captured far less profit. Typical hardware margins in the industry are around 12 to 15%. This is a low-margin business. The key insight is simple. Winning volume does not mean winning profit. This is where Apple separates itself. It refuses to play the volume game. Instead, it focuses on profitability per unit. This strategic choice is the foundation of everything else. Now let's look at the anomaly. Apple has only around 12 to 15% of global smartphone market share, but it captures more than 40% of the industry's profit. This is a structural advantage. Most companies think more units equals more success. Apple thinks differently. More profit per customer equals more success. This is a shift from quantity to quality. It also means Apple does not need to dominate market share. It only needs to dominate value capture. This is a critical mindset shift for any business. If you chase volume, you compete with everyone. If you chase profit, you define your own game. Apple's first core pillar is premium positioning. Apple does not compete on price. It competes on perception. Price is not just a number. It is a signal. Apple keeps its prices stable throughout the product lifecycle. There are no aggressive discounts. This protects brand equity. High prices reinforce the idea of premium quality, and this creates a self-reinforcing cycle. Customers associate Apple with quality, status, and reliability. This allows Apple to maintain pricing power. Most companies lower prices to compete. Apple raises perception to justify prices. This is a strategic decision, not a marketing trick. The second pillar is ecosystem lock-in. Apple builds a closed system. Hardware, software, and services working together. iPhone, Mac, Watch, iCloud, AirDrop. Everything is connected. This creates switching costs. Once a user is inside the ecosystem, leaving becomes difficult. Not just financially, but behaviorally. Users lose data, habits, and convenience. This friction is intentional. It increases retention and lifetime value. Every additional Apple device strengthens the lock-in. This is not just a product strategy. It is a customer control system. Apple does not just sell products. It owns the user experience. Now we move to the services layer. This is where Apple becomes extremely profitable. Services include App Store, iCloud, Apple Music, and payments. This segment has over 70% gross margin, much higher than hardware. It also generates recurring revenue. Subscriptions create predictable cash flow. This reduces dependence on product cycles. Instead of one-time sales, Apple builds continuous monetization. Hardware becomes the entry point. Services become the profit engine. This combination creates stability and scalability. Many companies sell products. Apple builds revenue ecosystems. Another key advantage is vertical integration. Apple controls both hardware and software. With Apple Silicon, it also controls the chip. By removing external suppliers like Intel, Apple reduces cost and increases control. This improves margins. It also improves performance. Hardware and software are optimized together. This creates differentiation that competitors cannot easily copy. Most companies depend on suppliers. Apple becomes its own supplier. This reduces risk and increases strategic independence. Control equals profit. Apple's supply chain is one of its strongest advantages. Under Tim Cook, Apple optimized operations to an extreme level. Inventory turnover is extremely fast, around 5 days. This means less capital is tied up in inventory. Apple also prepays for manufacturing capacity. For example, it secures chip supply years in advance. This locks out competitors. It ensures priority access to the best technology. This is not just efficiency. This is strategic control. By controlling supply, Apple controls the market. Most companies react to supply chains. Apple designs them. Apple keeps its product line simple. Few models, clear positioning. Competitors often release many overlapping products. This creates complexity. Complexity increases cost. Apple does the opposite. Fewer SKUs mean simpler manufacturing, lower costs, and better optimization. It also creates scale advantages. Ordering large volumes of the same components reduces cost per unit. This is operational discipline. Apple says no to complexity, so it can say yes to profit. Apple controls its distribution channels. It sells directly to customers through Apple stores and its website. This removes intermediaries and allows Apple to capture retail margins. Apple stores are also highly productive. They generate some of the highest revenue per square foot. But more importantly, they build brand experience. They are not just stores. They are community spaces. This strengthens customer loyalty. Apple controls both the product and the channel. This is a full-stack business model. Apple's financial strategy is also critical. It uses share buybacks aggressively. Over $600 billion in buybacks. This reduces the number of shares and increases earnings per share. Apple also uses low-interest debt strategically. This optimizes capital structure. Apple does not just generate profit. It engineers profit. This is financial discipline at the highest level. Many companies focus on growth. Apple focuses on return. Apple is also investing in the future, especially in AI, but its approach is different. Instead of cloud-based AI, Apple focuses on on-device AI. This protects user privacy. Privacy becomes a competitive advantage. While competitors compete on scale, Apple competes on trust. It is also investing heavily, hundreds of billions over time. This shows long-term commitment. Apple is not chasing trends. It is positioning strategically. Now we combine everything. Apple operates a closed-loop profit system. Hardware attracts users. Services monetize users. The ecosystem retains users. This loop reinforces itself. Every part of the system supports profit. This is why Apple is so difficult to compete with. It is not one advantage. It is a system of advantages. The final lesson is simple. Profitability is not about scale. It is about strategy. Apple wins because it focuses on premium positioning, ecosystem control, and operational discipline. It avoids the mass market trap. Instead, it builds a high-margin business model. For any entrepreneur, the key takeaway is this. Do not compete on price. Design your profit system. That is how you build a sustainable business.